Here is the first in our series of GM games. Officially, these two guys are not grandmasters, because they played hundreds of years before chess tournaments were even held. This game is between Polerio, with white, and Domenico, with black. It was held in Renaissance-era Rome, way back in the year 1606. It is one of the earliest recorded games, and also the first time the fried liver attack was ever recorded. So let's begin. It starts with the move e4, then e5, knight f3, and knight c6 by black. This is called the Italian game, named quite possibly after these two Italian players. Bishop c4 next, attacking f7. Knight f6 gets another black piece into the action, but it also blocks the queen so white can safely play knight to g5. This position is known simply as the knight attack. Here, black could play bishop c5, which is the Traxler counterattack, but the main move is to play d5 to block that bishop, which is what Domenico did. Here we reach the crossroads in this position. Stronger players with the benefit of hundreds of years of chess book knowledge will play knight to a5, which is the main defense. Alternatively, they could play some tricky moves like pawn b5, which is the Ulvestad variation, or even knight d4, which is the Fritz variation. Those are the three moves that will give black a better chance. But Domenico, with it being 400 years ago, did not know about those moves. I should say that many chess players below 1800 rating also don't know those moves. Domenico played knight takes d5, and that leads to the fried liver attack. Next, there is the knight sacrifice, which is a brilliant move according to the engine. The king takes that knight to save their rook, and then after that white plays queen to f3, which is a great move. The queen checks and also attacks the knight on d5. From here the king is pretty much forced to protect their knight. If it goes to g8, it is checkmate, and if it goes to square e7 or e8, white will simply grab the knight with the bishop, and there will be a huge threat of queen to f7. So it has to be king to e6. Next, knight to c3 is another great move by Polerio, with the white pieces. If we stop here and count the pieces, we can see three white attackers on that pinned knight. There are only two defenders, the black king and black queen. Black must defend with its other knight. A slightly better move for black is knight b4. This defends and also threatens knight to c2 check. However, Domenico played knight to e7. After this, Polerio plays yet another brilliant move, which is pawn d4. This move is very likely to remove the pawn on e5, and once white castles, their rook can go to either e1 or d1 and cause more havoc. In the game, Domenico played c6 to protect the knight and Polerio actually played bishop g5. The engine doesn't like this move, but you can still see the reason behind it. The knight on e7 is now attacked, and there is one less defender of that key knight on d5. Black kicks the bishop and white decides to capture the knight. Black retakes with their bishop, developing a piece, and Polerio decides to castle long. The engine doesn't like this move and prefers a pawn capture on e5, but you can see the idea behind it. The white king is now safe, and that rook is immediately facing the black queen. Next, rook f8 is the best move, attacking the queen. White plays queen to e4. The next move by black is a greedy move that does not help their situation at all. Rook takes f2. From here, white finally takes the e5 pawn, and this also activates the rook. There are now four attackers on that pinned knight. A queen, a knight, a rook, and a bishop. The black king is in big trouble. Black plays bishop g5 check, but it is easy for the white king to move away. Next, rook d2 is an attempt by black to block the attack on the d5 square. The best move here is to capture the rook, but white instead played pawn h4 to remove the bishop, which is the defender of the rook. Next, the rooks are traded, and then the black bishop takes h4, which is another move that is not great. From here, black is actually 3 points of material up, but their king is so exposed and the white pieces are so active that this position is +6 for white. The game ends in the next few moves. Knight finally takes knight. Pawn retakes. Next the rook takes, which attacks the queen. Queen to g5. Rook d6 check. King e7 is forced, as it is the only safe square. Finally, Polerio played rook to g6, attacking the queen, and Domenico resigned the game. The black queen is lost in this position. If it were to go to h5, it is checkmate in 4 moves. If you want, please pause the video and figure it out here. Let's take a quick look at how checkmate is achieved if the queen goes to h5. The mating sequence starts with the move rook g7 check. Because of the central pawn, the king is forced to the 8th rank. There are 3 safe squares that the king can run to, namely d8, or maybe e8, and finally f8. However, in every square, white can checkmate the king. Here are the stats for the game. From chess.com, Polerio played 1 brilliant move and 3 great moves. His accuracy was 78%. That might just sound like the stats of a club-level player, but when you imagine that these moves had possibly never been played before, and Polerio had no access to chess books, this is some very impressive play. Thanks very much indeed for watching, and I hope you learned some ideas behind the fried liver attack. See you later, and please subscribe if you want more content like this.